My beloved child, there will come a season when you look back and realize that not a single day of your journey was forgotten. Not even the days you thought were filled only with loss, silence, and tears. There were times when you felt you had done nothing meaningful, made no progress, left no mark, and were merely existing quietly in weariness and waiting. But in my eyes, those very days were the places where I poured a quiet, holy oil into you, not to adorn your outward appearance, but to make your presence become a vessel of healing. You do not know this, but there were moments when you simply took a deep breath to keep yourself from collapsing, and that breath became an offering of trust before me. There were moments when you had no words left to pray and could only sit still in tears. Yet that silence carried farther than many loud words. I do not need you to be strong at all times in the way the world understands strength. I only need you to remain with me, so that I may turn your tenderness into a vessel that carries peace. One day, you will enter a room, and without needing to say much, the atmosphere around you will soften. The angry will slow down. The troubled will feel as though a cool stream is flowing through their dry and tangled thoughts. Even those who have never called upon my name will sense that there is something in you that does not come from human effort. This is not because you are more special than anyone else, but because you have allowed me to touch the hidden places within you, allowed me to refine you through the long night, and allowed me to transform the things that once wounded you into the fragrance of mercy. You do not need to try to make an impression. You do not need to clothe yourself in a spiritual appearance. And you do not need to prove that I am with you. When I truly pour peace into you, that peace will radiate on its own. It will be present in the way you look at others, in the words you speak when you could have chosen bitterness, in your silence when you choose not to retaliate, and in the small smile you are still able to carry after so many heavy days. My child, do not underestimate your quiet prayers. There are prayers you thought dissolved into empty space, but I heard them and used them like arrows of light entering places you cannot see. When you pray for someone who is lost, your eyes may not yet see them change, but behind the visible veil, I am loosening every knot, softening every hardened place, and opening small cracks of light in places that seemed completely sealed. When you offer me the tears no one else knows about, I do not let them fall in vain. I turn them into intercession, into hidden seeds, into a call that awakens those who have fallen asleep in despair. You do not need to stand before a crowd in order to become my instrument. Sometimes you may be lying in a small room, too weary to do anything but whisper my name, and yet that very place becomes an altar of faith. Remember Elisha and his servant in Scripture. When the city was surrounded, the servant looked around and saw only enemies and fear, but Elisha knew that what natural eyes could see was not the whole truth. When I opened the servant's eyes, he realized that around them was a protection greater than every threat present before them. My child, your life has often been like that as well. You thought you were alone amid surrounding pressures, thought your small prayers were not strong enough to change anything, thought the darkness was prevailing. But I want you to understand that behind what you can see, I am still at work. There are battles you are not called to win by your own strength. You are called to stand still in faith and know that my presence is greater than what threatens you. When you are in me, even your silence is not empty. It is covered by my gentle power. But my beloved child, because I love you completely, I do not care only about the invisible things within you. I also care about the body you carry through these years on earth. It is the temporary home I have given you so that you may live, love, serve, walk, rest, and complete your portion. Do not take that home lightly. Do not treat it as though it were merely secondary. as though prolonged pain is something you must simply endure in silence, or as though constant exhaustion is not worth listening to. There are signals you should not ignore. There are pains that should not be covered over by busyness. There are quiet changes in your health that need to be noticed with awareness, not panic. I do not want you to live in fear, but neither do I want you to use faith as a reason to neglect wisdom. If your body speaks, listen. If you notice something unusual, have the courage to seek help. Going to a medical appointment is not a lack of faith. Asking for professional advice is not a denial of my power. Taking medicine when necessary, resting at the right time, changing habits, receiving treatment, caring for your sleep, eating with balance, learning to reduce stress, all these things do not make you less spiritual. On the contrary, they are ways of stewarding what I have entrusted to you with gratitude. I have given human beings intelligence to observe, research, learn, and discover paths of healing. I have placed patience in many hearts so they would enter the field of medicine, to care, to examine complex matters, to seek remedies, and to monitor even the smallest changes in those who are ill, whether they have called my name or not. The light of true knowledge is still part of the grace I have allowed to grow in the world. Therefore, do not be afraid of hospital doors, and do not see medical checkups as signs of failure. Sometimes the very place you do not want to enter is the place where I send a necessary answer. Sometimes a test result, a doctor's reminder, a slow course of treatment, a timely pill, or a small daily change becomes the path I use to preserve you. I can do what surpasses all human understanding. That remains in my hands. But I can also heal through process, through discipline, through follow-up appointments, through the hands of caregivers, and through knowledge accumulated across generations. Do not force me to act only in the form you expect. I am your Father, and I know which way is best, gentlest, and most necessary for you in each season. Some people think a miracle is only something that happens in one radiant moment. But I tell you, sometimes a miracle is also the courage to schedule an appointment after months of avoidance, the willingness to rest instead of continuing to push yourself, the discipline to take medicine on time even while your heart is still anxious, the humility to accept help without shame, the decision to learn to love yourself not through fleeting emotion, but through healthy, steady, and humble choices. I do not rebuke you for having been afraid. I know fear can make you delay, can cause you to avoid the truth, and can lead you to comfort yourself with familiar words. But today, I am calling you out of that delay, not with panic, but with wisdom upheld by love. You can still be a living sign of my mercy, whether your body is strong or weary, whether your steps are quick or slow, whether this season finds you full of energy or needing more care. Your worth does not decrease because you are weak. My presence in you does not disappear because you need treatment. You do not have to hide your fragility to prove that you have faith. True faith is not pretending that everything is fine. True faith is daring to bring even the things that are not yet fine into my light, and then doing the part you need to do with trust. When you cooperate with healing, you are telling me that you treasure the life I have given you. When you care for yourself, you are preparing to continue loving, serving, and being present more fully. So, my beloved child, allow me to anoint the days you once thought were useless, and allow me to teach you to care for the home of your earthly life with reverence. Pray, but also act. Trust, but also listen to the signs that need attention. Wait for the miracle, but do not reject the ordinary means I have placed on your path. I am in your whispered prayer, and I can also be in the brightly lit clinic. I am in invisible peace. and I can also be in the hands of a devoted caregiver. I am in the unexpected moment of healing, and I am also in the slow process of each day. Keep your heart open, my child. I will make your life a dwelling place for peace, and I will teach you to preserve yourself as a gift given by love that never runs dry. My beloved child, there are things you once called delay, but in my eyes, they were protection. There were doors you knocked on until your hands were tired and yet they did not open. There were prayers you offered through tears and thought received no answer. There were paths you wanted to enter, but you were blocked by circumstances beyond your control. You once thought you had been left behind, that everyone else was moving forward while you stood in a silent place. No one understood. But today, I want you to look back with different eyes. Not everything that closes is a loss. Not every delay is a refusal. Not every pause is a sign that you have been forgotten. There are times when I close a path not to hurt you, but to protect you from things you do not yet have enough vision to recognize. There are times when I let you wait not because I am indifferent, but because I am preparing within you a greater capacity, a deeper calm, and a faith no longer easily shaken by every passing wind. Do you remember Moses standing before the Red Sea? Behind him was an army in pursuit. Before him was the vast sea, and beside him were the fearful cries of the people. If seen only with natural eyes, it was a dead end. If heard only through the noise of circumstance, it was failure. But precisely in the place where there seemed to be no way, I opened a path no one had ever seen before. My child, I still often work this way. I do not always lead you through the easiest road, but I always lead you through the road where my power and mercy can be revealed most deeply. Sometimes you must stand before waters that seem impossible to cross in order to learn that I am not limited by what your eyes can see. Sometimes you must hear fear rising around you in order to learn the difference between the noise of the world and my quiet guidance. Sometimes you must walk a path where there are no old footprints, so that you may know I can create a new way, even in the place that seemed blocked. Therefore, do not rush to define your life by one difficult season. Do not call a heavy period punishment when I am using it to make you steadier. I do not rejoice in seeing you hurt, but I know how to turn even the long nights into places where you learn to breathe in peace. I do not send storms to drown you, but I can use storms to teach you how to anchor yourself in what cannot be swept away. The days when you thought you were weakest were actually the days when the roots of your faith were reaching deeper into the soil. The times when you no longer knew what to do were actually the moments when you were learning to release control and let me hold what you could not hold. The tears you shed in silence were never meaningless. I gathered each one like a seed of wisdom, so that one day, from the very ground that was once soaked with sorrow, courage, gentleness, and light would rise. My child, I have been nearer to you than you thought. In the nights when you lay still while your heart was tangled like a garden after a strong wind, I was there. In the mornings when you woke with heavy shoulders but still tried to keep going, I was there. In the moments when you had no words left to ask, only a weary breath, I still understood. I do not wait for you to become strong before I draw near. I draw near while you are trembling. I do not love you less when you are confused. I do not withdraw my hand when you are slow to understand. I am your Father, and my love does not change according to the rising and falling of your emotions. When you thought you were walking alone on an empty road, I was walking beside you, quietly removing sharp stones from the path before you, quietly holding back things that could have broken you, quietly placing within you an endurance you would not even recognize until you look back. There are forms of strength that do not come like thunder, but like dew falling steadily on a dry field, little by little each day. Through each trial, through each time you stood again after believing you had no strength left, I was forging within you an endurance that does not need to boast. You thought you were only enduring, but I was building. You thought you were merely surviving each day, but I was teaching you how to stand firm without losing gentleness. You thought your lonely seasons were making you smaller, but I was bringing you into a quiet place so you could hear more clearly what I had placed within you. Not every separation means abandonment. Sometimes I lead you away from the crowd to heal the voice within you, so that you no longer live merely for the approval of others, and so that you may know your value is not found in applause, but in my loving gaze. When you encounter upheaval, do not only ask why it has come, ask what I am forming in you through it. Some winds uproot weak trees, but some winds cause strong trees to root themselves more deeply. Some pain, if you allow it to lead you, will make you close your heart, but if you place it in my hands, it will become the place where light enters. I can use what once made you tremble to teach you compassion for others. I can use your delays to teach you patience. I can use closed doors to teach you discernment. So you may understand that not everything you want today is what is best for tomorrow. You are not defined by the battles you have walked through. You are matured by the way you allow me to accompany you in each one. My child, when I place my hand upon your shoulder, I do not only comfort you so that you stop crying, I also breathe peace into you so that you can continue walking. My peace does not always change the circumstances immediately, but it keeps your heart from being ruled by them. You may still stand amid things that are unclear, but you no longer have to be dragged away by fear. You may still not see the whole road, but you no longer need to panic because of the darkness ahead. You may still be waiting for an answer, but that waiting no longer has to be a prison. It becomes peaceful soil where I cultivate maturity within you. Let the pause days teach you rest. Let the quiet spaces teach you to listen. Let the unopened roads teach you to trust that I am still working, even when every outward sign remains silent. There will come a time when you look back and understand why I did not allow you to enter certain places you once longed for. You will see that some rejections were actually cloaks of protection. Some losses were actually gentle deliverance. Some separations were actually my hand pulling you away from what could have slowly worn you down. Then you will no longer resent the season of waiting, because you will recognize that in that very season, you were being prepared. You learned to stand upright, even when not everyone understood. You learned to keep your heart soft without allowing pain to sweep you away. You learned to trust quiet guidance more than loud signs. And the most beautiful thing is this: you will begin to realize that I was never absent. So today, open your heart like soil after rain, and let my light soak into the places that once belonged to darkness. Do not be afraid to look back at the places that still hurt, because I am not leading you there to wound you further, but to heal you with truth and mercy. Let me touch the doubts that once grew inside you. Let me pull out the worries that have rooted themselves for too long. Let me turn heavy memories into places where you learn wisdom. You do not have to become steady by yourself in a single day. I will be patient with you. I will lift you one step at a time. I will teach you to breathe again, to trust again, to walk again, and to hope again. My beloved child, there are seasons in your life when even one word seemed enough to make you shrink back, one memory enough to make your heart tremble, one familiar face enough to pull you back to the place that once wounded you. But today I want you to hear this with all the tenderness given to a deeply loved child. You are not the name of those wounds. You are not the consequence of what others have done. You are not the echo of the times you were abandoned, belittled, misunderstood, or made to doubt yourself. Before you knew pain, I knew you through love. Before anyone placed heavy words upon you, I placed dignity within you. Before the past tried to cast a shadow over your present, I had already seen you in the light of a good purpose. Therefore, do not allow what happened to take the pen and rewrite who you are. I am the one who calls you by name. I am the one who knows the deepest part of you. And I do not call you broken. I call you one who is being lifted up. There are pains that are not loud, but they remain for a long time. They hide in the way you apologize even when you have done nothing wrong, in the way you are afraid to speak because you were once silenced, in the way you try to please others because you fear being left behind. I see it all. My child, I see the moments when you smile while inside you are weary. The times when you say, "I'm fine," while in truth, you are only trying to keep yourself from breaking further. But I do not come to condemn you for being tender. I come to place my hand upon the place you thought no one understood, and to remind you that softness is not inferiority. A heart that knows how to love can still learn to stand upright. A kind person can still say no when something is harming them. A compassionate person still has the right to leave a place that slowly extinguishes the light within them. Understand this. Love that comes from me never forces you to shrink in order to be accepted. It does not require you to trade your peace in order to keep a relationship. It does not make you live in fear that if you speak the truth, you will be abandoned. True love does not turn you into someone who constantly doubts yourself. True love helps you remember the dignity that was placed within you from the beginning. If there is a place where every day you enter it, you feel smaller, more drained, and more afraid. If there is someone who causes you to bury your clear and honest voice in order to avoid storms, if there is an attachment that makes you wither instead of bloom in peace, then you need to pause and discern. Not everything familiar is a place where you must remain. Not every long-standing bond is a bond I want you to preserve forever. Sometimes wisdom is not found in enduring more, but in having the courage to step out of the place that is causing you to lose the life within you. I know you may fear that setting boundaries will make you cold, but my child, healthy boundaries are not walls of selfishness. They are doors guarded with awareness. You can still love without allowing anyone to trample on what I have entrusted to you as sacred. You can still forgive without returning to be wounded again. You can still wish someone well without continuing to give them the right to enter the deepest place of your heart. Maturity is not accepting everything under the name of love. Maturity is knowing what comes from the light and what is only disguising itself as closeness in order to wear you down. When you learn to guard yourself with wisdom, you are not resisting love, you are allowing love to become pure, rightly placed, and ordered. Do you remember the story of Tamar in Scripture? The woman who endured a hidden shame and was cast aside as though her cries were not worthy of being heard? Some people read that story and see only tragedy. But I want you to look deeper. I do not overlook the cries that have been covered up. I do not take lightly the things people try to hide behind closed doors. Pains that the world does not defend are still seen before me. Tamar was treated as though her worth had been taken from her. But the truth is that her dignity was never in the hands of the one who harmed her. In the same way, my child, what others have done to you has no right to determine the nobility I have placed within you. Perhaps you were once silenced, made to feel ashamed over something that was not your fault, or left alone with questions no one answered. But I am not silent before that pain. I call you out of the darkness of self-blame and bring you back to the truth. You are still worthy of love, worthy of protection, and worthy of living in peace. Therefore, when you look back at the old days, do not look with eyes that condemn yourself. Do not say that you should have been stronger. I should have known sooner, or should have left more quickly. There are things you only understand when the heart has awakened enough. There are lessons that must pass through tears before they become discernment. I do not use the past to expose you in shame. I use it as soil that has been turned over so I can sow new wisdom into it. What once wounded you can become the place where you learn to love yourself rightly. What once caused you to fall can become the place where you understand that peace is more precious than the approval of others. What once led you astray can become a bell that reminds you never again to give anyone but me the authority to define who you are. There are times when you look at yourself in the mirror and see only traces of weariness, scattered fragments of memory, and old words still clinging to your mind. But I see you differently. I see someone who is returning. I see eyes that once filled with tears but have not lost their light. I see hands that once trembled but still want to hold on to hope. I see you not as a forgotten fragment, but as a precious vessel I am lifting, cleansing, mending, and preparing for a new season. You do not need to deny that you have been hurt, but neither do you need to build a tent in the place of pain. You can acknowledge the wound without allowing it to govern your voice. You can remember the old story without allowing it to rule tomorrow. In this new season, you will also notice a change that is very gentle yet very deep. You will no longer want to keep returning to the old wounds in order to prove that you have become strong. Not because what happened has no meaning, but because it has completed its work within you. The dark days taught you to discern the light. The delays taught you to wait and trust. The times you were misunderstood taught you to stand still without losing the purity of your heart. But now, you no longer need to remain there to search for your identity. You are not called by the name of your wounds. You are not defined by what once made you cry. I call you by a new name in life, by a peace that does not depend on anyone's recognition, and by a value that cannot be taken away by what has happened. Think of Joseph, my beloved child. For a long time, people could only see him through the torn robe, the pit, the life of being sold, the prison, and the years of being forgotten. If Joseph had lived only in the memory of those injustices, the past would have bound him, even when the palace doors opened. But when my time came, I did not only bring him out of prison, I placed wisdom in his hands to save many people from famine. What is remarkable is not only that he was raised to a high position, but that he did not allow power to turn him into a person of revenge. When he met again those who had wounded him, he did not use his new position to crush them, but saw a design greater than his personal pain. That is the sign of a person whom I have healed in the depths, not denying what happened, but also not allowing what happened to rule the way they love. Decide and serve. In the same way, I am teaching you to step out of the old room of memory without despising what happened there. You can honor the journey behind you, but you do not need to build a home in the season of pain. You can remember how you were rescued, but you do not need to carry the posture of someone still trapped in the pit. I do not erase your past as though it never existed. I transform it into a foundation upon which your feet can stand more firmly. The things that once made you tremble now become places where you learn endurance. The things that once made you wonder why I was silent now become proof that I was still working, even when you could not see. And from that foundation, you continue walking, not with boasting, but with quiet, deep, and radiant gratitude. Then you will see that the abundance entrusted to you is not only outward things, but the ability to carry blessing without losing humility. Many people can receive great things, but not everyone is steady enough to keep their heart upright when great things arrive. That is why I refined you in hidden places, where no one applauded, where you had to learn faithfulness before results came, gratitude before fullness was visible, and tenderness before all answers were complete. Those lessons were not wasted. They are the vessel fired in the flame so it can hold precious oil without cracking. When I place more in your hands, you will not be blinded by it, because you have learned that your source is not in the thing given, but in the one who gives. So, my beloved child, do not rush to explain yourself to everyone. There are seasons when I want you to remain silent so that the transformation itself may speak. There are things that, the more you try to prove them, the less others understand. But when you continue living in peace, walking uprightly, treating others with kindness, and being faithful to what has been entrusted to you, time will testify to my work within you. A renewed life does not need to be decorated with grand words. Its fragrance rises through the way you forgive, the way you wait, the way you receive and still bow your head, and the way you release what no longer belongs to you without resentment. I am bringing you into a stage where you will not only speak about healing, but live as one who has been healed. You will not only talk about faith, but walk by faith in the small decisions of each day. You will not only repeat that I am good, but allow that goodness to flow through the way you look at others, the way you steward what has been entrusted to you, and the way you keep your heart from bitterness and pride. And when others see you living this way, they will not merely hear a story. They will touch a living testimony that grace can restore what seemed shattered, that peace can rise from places once filled with tears, and that the one led by me no longer needs to be dragged backward by the past. Keep walking, my child. What is past has been placed by me where it belongs. What lies ahead is opening in my order, and you are not walking alone.